Hello, and thank you for watching this November 21st weather update brought to you by Agrible, the Makers of Morning Farm Report. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm a senior atmospheric scientist and co-founder of Agrible. Well, we're just 1 month away from the winter solstice, after which we start gaining daylight hours once again. But up until last week, this fall has felt a lot more like a continuation of summer. This map shows how warm the first half of November was. Some locations in the Great Plains were 15 degrees warmer than average over that time period. But change did come late last week in the form of a very powerful low-pressure system. This radar animation shows the evolution of what was our first real winter storm of the year. Fueled by a deep trough in the jet stream, the upper-level support for this system helped the atmospheric pressure fall rapidly in the center of the surface low. The result was a low-pressure system that bottomed out with a central pressure in 990 millibars, which for reference is very low. Besides the snow, rain, and thunderstorms this produced, such low pressure produces a strong pressure gradient, which in turn produces strong winds. Wind is the result of a difference in air pressure between two locations, and on Friday we could see these differences by looking at the spacing of the isobars on this map. The isobars are the contour lines you see here, and essentially the closer they are together, the greater the pressure gradient and the faster the winds. So since we're finally getting a taste of winter, let's talk a little winter weather 101. The first and most important thing to monitor with winter storms is their track. In the United States during winter, most big low pressure systems produce this configuration of weather types. In the south, along the cold front, a line of heavy rain and thunderstorms often form. To the east of the low, very cold and persistent rain falls. To the north of the warm front, which is here on last week's winter storm, well, there's a transition from rain to freezing rain to sleet and ice pellets. And finally, on the northwest side of the low, well, this is where you find cold enough air for snow to fall. So it typically transitions from storms to rain to ice to sleet and to snow. That is why knowing the track is so important. Depending on where you are with respect to the track, you can predict what type of weather you should receive. For those of you in Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, the surface low-pressure system tracked just like this in last week's storm system. A good rule of thumb for snowfall forecasting is that the heaviest snow bands, which is really what is shown on this map, typically fall between 100 and 300 miles northwest of the low-pressure system's track, which is what's seen here in this black arrow. Well, two very good things came out of this last system. First, snowpack in the northern United States gained some ground this past week, although there are still some large parts of the Canadian prairies that are not snow-covered, which is what you can see on this map. Well, the second thing is that this system helped break down the persistent ridging in the central United States and southeast that has kept October and November so very warm. One other thing before we continue, although sea ice extent this year is very small compared to average, the sea ice area in the Arctic did make significant gains over the last week, which is what you can see here in the yellow on this map. Well, to start our forecast, let's talk big picture and long range first. The most important feature we're seeing in these long-range models, in other words, about the beginning of December, is the development of an area of high pressure between the Hudson Bay and Greenland. Essentially, when warm air in the form of a ridge in the jet stream is displaced into this region, the result is an often much cooler and active weather pattern across the United States. When meteorologists say active, this is what they're talking about. This animation shows the wind speed and direction of the winds in the jet stream, centered on the Pacific Ocean on Monday, November 21st. Active weather patterns include a lot of troughs and ridges in the jet stream. Each trough carries with it the potential to produce another winter storm like the one that we saw last week. So let's watch the next 10 days quickly in this animation just to see how active the pattern is as it continually produces a new winter storm every 3 to 4 days in the short term. Notice how each system is producing snow on its northern side, just as we learned a few minutes ago. For those of us in the central or southern parts of the Corn Belt, we need a deep enough trough fueled by really, really cold air to get these winter storms to track far enough to the south for us to get the snow. But that will come soon enough as winter evolves. So what has me concerned in the short term is the forecast for the next winter storm that will arrive sometime on early Tuesday morning out of the Rocky Mountains. By midday on Tuesday, this system is able to strengthen and to tap into the moisture of the Gulf of Mexico and produce a large area of rain and then snow to the north. For those traveling on this date, please keep a very close eye on the radar, as a large section of the middle part of our country is expecting to get quite a bit of precipitation. Well, by Wednesday, the system weakens a bit as it loses some of its upper-level support in the jet stream, but still makes for a soggy day across the Midwest with some snow showers predicted for the Great Lakes. By Thanksgiving, this all moves toward the northeast, and most of the Corn Belt will have a dry Thanksgiving Day. Unfortunately for our producers in the southeast that are dealing with this exceptional drought, while the next week's worth of accumulated rainfall misses the hardest hit areas in the country for drought. Still, there is hope for some relief at the start of December for precipitation in this area. But there is a phrase that many who have suffered through drought know, and it says, "All signs fail in times of drought." Well, this week's weather systems currently verify that saying, and we're not expecting much change of the drought in the southeastern part of the United States. Well, as always, we at Agrible will bring the latest and best weather forecast information through our morning farm report so that you can efficiently plan your operations. We thank you for your attention and hope you look forward to our next weather video update. Thank you and enjoy this Thanksgiving week.